is Landed in Leadership and Enlightenment, a podcast where the guests are exceptional humans that have faced their fears to crest into their best selves, growing into a way they can help their communities, creating opportunities, and sharing their secrets and their tips that they learned along the way. Without further ado, here we are, my friends. Have a great time today and enjoy Leadership and Enlightenment. Brother, we've had this conversation at least 4 or 5 times as long as I've known you, man. I mean, it's really good to see you, Chris. How long has it been,
great
dude?
to see you. Oh my God, Dean. I mean, I feel like it was yesterday, but I think we're approaching, it's been 11 months since IMAX in Vegas last October. And when I actually saw you, when we hung out together, grabbed some lunch and just enjoyed the IMAX show.
Dude, I have to say that was the day I got to really meet you. I mean, we had a couple great conversations, and I've always considered you a mentor of mine. But that day, I could see that you were very authentic as a human. And we were having some real casual conversations about kids and life, and it just kept streaming into this idea that I'm like, this guy is a leader. I mean, however I see him, he's really put himself out in the world, and everything you do seems to really touch people. I know it's kind of a segue we all go through, but really the idea is, you were in a corporate world once, so was I. This is a painful place for a lot of us sometimes because we feel like these ceilings are around us and we feel like we're limited by the people that allow us to do what, we're being instructed to do. And then all of a sudden we break out, and you've had an incredible career. I mean, this whole thing's going to be about that. And I'd love for you to start with, like, what drove you out of your corporate setting, whatever that was, and put you into this place you're in now?
That's a great question. I mean, for me, I think it was a combination of a few things. I had reached a point very similar to what you said, that I've always been a creative person, innovative, always the type of person that was always looking for how can we turn a challenge into an opportunity and how can we turn an opportunity into a result. I was never a big proponent of managing symptoms or managing problems. I began to see that, again, this is not a jab at the corporate world, but it's just a reality that a lot of times in that space, they're managing the problem. They're not getting to the root cause of what's causing the problem and what can we learn from it to turn it into a better situation. They rather, again, it's just putting Band-Aids. And I just reached a point where it just wasn't me. I don't operate that way. It defies everything about who I am to the core, and it's not part of my value system. And I just felt like while I work with companies today, and that's, I do a lot of training and coaching and consulting. I speak for a lot of organizations. It's just that in that capacity, it works out well. Working in a company, I just wouldn't be who I am. But I love working with organizations that want to change and they feel like, hey, this is the time to change and we have to look at doing things differently. So for me, it was a combination of being true to who I was. And another factor was that I had a son at the time who was very small, and I wanted to be really part of his life. And if I was working for someone, I didn't have the say of when I could work, when I had to throttle back. I took that chance. I had saved a lot of money. I was always a saver. I lived below my means. So I put myself in a position where I could take that risk, and I did it. And lo and behold, it wasn't easy in the beginning, but yet it worked out well. And here we are.
Wow.
And I was able to be a great dad to my son. And he's just in his second week of college, started college at Coastal Carolina.
Nice, dude. That's
heading down this weekend with my wife for Parents Weekend. So we're
Awesome.
really excited.
What a great example you set. I mean, I'll definitely cue in on one piece of that I felt my wife and I also did. We hit an income at some point. We were in the service industry, running restaurants and whatnot, but we thought we could raise our kids on that the rest of our lives. We said, if we live in a modest way and really accept who we are, we could save money and give ourselves a chance one day to get out. It never was a retirement to us. We didn't see it that way. It's like this nest egg where we could break out. And I took that same advantage. And it was literally for a family member that wasn't here yet, my granddaughter. I mean, I told this story all over the place. But the truth is, when we have these motivational factors in us, this light comes into us of some way, or this energy where we start to become empowered in this mission and where we're going. And you've been doing this for a long time. I'm sure there was a place somewhere in the middle, though, where you were clicking and then it just started going the other way. And you had to reinvent yourself or figure out, like, what does this mean to be on my own, entrepreneur, whatever the word is you want to use, but responsible for the direction of my life. Tell us a little bit about that. How was that? What was the story?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about when I did this, I had done a lot of the hard work on myself. I went through a life-changing transformation back in God, it was a number of years ago when my father had passed away at the age of 56 of lung cancer. And my dad hadn't smoked in years, but he had been around radiation and asbestos probably when he was very young. But I'm a firm believer dad's cancer was not a direct result of those things. I think it was just a matter of him stuffing his emotions that he never dealt with as a child, as a teenager, as an adult, and it just manifested in cancer. But when he passed, my dad was never really active emotionally in my life. He tried at the end, but I had a life-changing moment with him where when he had passed, I could hear him talking to me even though he wasn't physically talking. You couldn't actually hear words other than I could hear it in a different way. He was a product of his own upbringing. And I did, and I realized, oh my God, he was just repeating the same patterns that he had learned growing up from my grandfather, and he didn't know any better. And that was the wake up call for me. And that's what got me on this path of working on myself, which I did for a good 10 years before I made this transition. So I was emotionally, mentally in a much better place to make that transition because I knew the differences through emotional intelligence on what you can control versus what you can't control. And what you can control, if I were to sum it up in two major ways, is other people in situations. I can't control what's going on in my industry. I can't control what's going on in the economy. I can't control if a plane got canceled or delayed. I can't control what another person is going to do when I say something and how they're going to respond, react, what their attitude is going to be towards it, what action they're going to take towards it or not, and so on. So with that being said, when I learned how to focus on what I can control, and that is me, my communication to myself and others, my behavior in alignment with that, being assertive versus passive aggressive, my attitude that seeing challenges, obstacles, setbacks as a good thing. It's happening for me, not to me as the victim or using excuses or gossiping or complaining to deflect how I felt onto other people. It was my emotions, whether even if I was angry, I didn't have to react from it. I can respond from a positive emotion as I go through whatever I was going through. And then taking massive action on the priorities that truly mattered, not the distractions or the things that were irrelevant to what I was working on. So I was in a good place to take on this transition, to endure the challenges and obstacles that came along with it, trusting the process, being intentional, not operating from expectations. And that's what put me in a great position to, go through that first few years of ramping up. And then from there, getting a base established to build on, which
Wow.
I've done up to this point where I'm at in
Dude,
my business.
again, I'm going to say you and I run in these parallels. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I had decided to put 10,000 hours in before I ended up leaving my corporate career. I got about 5,000 hours in the idea of going inside. I'll say it like that. I was sitting there thinking, what could I be an expert in? What could I really invest in? I thought me, like I could go in there where it's scary and I could really start to dig out these things, childhood, family, all the stuff that I was blaming the world around me for. And I found like you, I found a place I could stand on my own. That was the miracle. Every day I wake up, I don't need the security of others to make me feel like we're doing something that makes a
Mm.
difference. It's literally in this place. And I find that similarity really, really endearing that you would put the work in before you actually went out to help others figure out how to put the work in. And I think when we really get down to it, that's what we're saying is there's work to be done. It's not, this magic phrase. It's not a way of walking around telling yourself something. It's catching those thoughts, them. I was helping a friend this weekend talking about how I stopped smoking cigarettes. And that's the word. She said, what did you do? And I go, I stopped saying quit. I'm not going to quit cigarettes. I'm going to get healthier and stop smoking cigarettes. And those mindset, drills that I went through,
Yeah.
they went all the way through to what I would say to somebody. And somebody say, hey, I noticed that you're not smoking cigarettes anymore. I would say, oh yeah, I quit. Wait, I didn't mean to say quit. I stopped smoking cigarettes because I want to become healthier.
Yeah.
And when I realized like the power of that translation between mindset and words, that was like the next step for me. I realized that everything we're doing around us is this literal idea of tuning into this energy that we're in a manifestation of. And I call it mental momentum, keeping that
That's
daily
fantastic, Dean.
mindset,
I
you
love the
know?
fact that you how you used it, how you shifted away from smoking to non-smoking, not because you quit, because quitting is not something that's hard to do because, right, you quit and then you're going to pick right back up again. You had it in your mind that I'm going to be healthier than I ever have. And I want to be an example for my kids. I want to be here for my wife.
Right.
I want to be
Yeah.
here for other people to see that being healthy starts with you. And that was the momentum, so to speak, that drove you to not pick up a cigarette.
Yeah, it wasn't the idea of the action step, and you use
Yeah.
this word me. I love me. I've decided that I like to use this analogy and instead of like keying in on ego necessarily, I call it me, motion and energy. Where is your motion and energy in your day and how are you presenting that? That's your me, like who you are in that day. And me could be stale and sitting on the side of the road waiting for a flat tire to be fixed on their own, or me could get out there and read a book and try and find something in it that really makes them feel a little more like they want to get forward into that next day. Well, dude, I mean, as always, we could go on for hours in these scenarios, and we will. We'll get back on the phone again, sure, and do a podcast. But tell us in the end, if you wanted the listeners to go back with something today that you really think drove you and let you step outside of this box and allow you to be the best you are, what would that be? What is it, the thing you want them to hear?
I would just say that again, you've been put on this planet for who you are. And so why are you doing what you're doing? If you're doing something that you clearly don't enjoy, clearly feel like it's not purposeful, and it doesn't mean it isn't purposeful, it just may not be purposeful to you. And so it's never too late to go into something that brings you joy. I'm not saying you go into something just blindly into something you fully enjoy. There's got to be a blend of something where you've had some prior experience, you've done some homework to know there's a demand that if you do something, it will fulfill somebody, that you could help somebody or somebody that can monetize it, right? You don't want to get into something where you can't make money from that either.
Yeah.
So it's a blend of both, but finding something where there's some purpose and just knowing that you don't have to have everything perfect. You don't have to be everything for everyone. You don't have to have all your ducks in a row. It's being prepared, of course, but just again, just giving it your best each and every day. It's not about being the best. It's about being your best. How can I be better than I was yesterday? What did I learn that I could do better that I did the previous day? So
Yeah.
I find that when we can operate that way and operate in the moment versus in the past and the future, we have the ability now to really learn and enjoy and embrace the process, even when we're going through a difficult situation, to know that we're coming stronger, we're coming better at what we do, and we're being a better example and a resource for others to do the same. So you're always inspiring, whether if you know it, other people around you through how you communicate to yourself and others, how you behave in alignment to that, your attitude, it's happening for you, not to you, approach, how you respond to difficult situations and people versus reacting, and the massive action that you're taking. It's powerful. And those are the things that when I've adopted that frame of thinking and how I operate my life and how I do my business, I wake up every day. I see everything as fun. Like, I don't see this as a job.
I love that.
See this, I gotta go in and do this. I
Yeah.
gotta go. I love doing what I do. And it's
Yeah.
not about the money. The money is just a byproduct of what the value that I bring to the table. But if I don't value myself and I don't take care of myself and fill my cup, how could I possibly serve other people to spill on them in a positive way? So I got to value myself to value others and to keep repeating that process.
Well, brother, I'll say, I've noticed that just in our settings. I mean, I don't know if the audience realizes, but Chris and I, we're both in the events industry. This is essentially how we met. I broker meetings. I have clients. I refer. And so, Chris is an amazing keynote speaker, coach, workshop. When you get down to it, this is a subject that you and I both put a lot of time into. And I know that it's going to take some guidance for others if they're interested in this. Why don't you share your schedule coming up here soon? I know there may be some opportunities people can jump on and hear you actually get into it a little deeper or connect with you maybe and have a
Sure.
one-on-one session.
Well, I am speaking at the Success North Dallas CEO group that meets in Dallas September 17th, Wednesday. I don't have all the specific details of where it's at, but if you are from the Dallas area, you probably can Google, and I know the group's been around for 31 years. The former CEO, founder of Southwest Airlines was an original member, so if that's saying
Wow.
something.
Yeah.
He was there. I'm going to be speaking at the ASIS International GSX Conference, Security Conference in New Orleans at the end of this month, September 30th. at the New Orleans Convention Center, so I'm looking forward to that. I've got a lot of private workshops and talks that I'm doing for some companies. One happened to be the Pentagon, which I'm excited about. I'm
Whoa.
gonna have to be in a full suit for 2 days,
Woo!
do that, and go through a lot of clearance to get into the building. But that should be fun. That's going to be an interesting experience. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course, in October, very similar schedule with a lot of association conferences that I'll be at.
Cool.
And
You gonna be
always
at
love
IMAX again?
serving. What's it again?
IMAX again? You gonna be at IMAX again?
I won't be at IMAX this year,
All right.
unfortunately.
All right. Well, not a
Yeah.
problem. I'll miss you there, brother. But
Yeah,
it's so
definitely next year.
exciting.
I'll be on it because there's a conflict with another event, unfortunately. Yeah.
Happens to all of us, of course, of
Yeah.
course. But dude, it's great to hear that you're out there and you're doing what you do. And I'm sure when you got into this, you weren't going to believe you were working for the government one day, and here you are out there changing the world. So I look
Yeah.
forward to hearing that in our next discussion. Maybe another month or two, we'll jump back on and hear where the progress has gone over the holidays.
Sounds great.
All right, brother. Have a great afternoon. Take care. God bless.
Take care.
Well, there we go. Another amazing example of the universe working in its magnificent way today. Appreciate you showing up and look forward to seeing you again at Leadership and Enlightenment.